What if I told you that everything you've been taught about success is a carefully constructed lie? A system deliberately designed to keep you working hard but never quite reaching the summit? I discovered this the hard way. 5 years ago, I was working 60-hour weeks, following every success blueprint, reading every self-improvement book. I had the vision board, the morning routine, the affirmations. I was doing everything right, and I was still stuck. Then, by pure chance, or perhaps fate, I met someone, not a guru, not a celebrity, just an unassuming man in his 60s who had quietly amassed extraordinary wealth and genuine fulfillment. What he shared with me over coffee that day changed everything. It was so counterintuitive, so contrary to mainstream advice, that I initially dismissed it. "That can't possibly work," I told him. He just smiled and said, "That's exactly why it does. What I'm about to share with you isn't taught in schools. It's rarely mentioned in business books. Successful. People almost never reveal it in interviews. Why? Because this principle is the great equalizer. The one thing that, once understood, could collapse the entire hierarchy that keeps most people striving but never arriving." In the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal this forbidden secret that has transformed not just my financial reality, but has given me something even more valuable: complete control over my destiny. But I have to warn you, once you see this, you cannot unsee it. And you'll be faced with a choice that will determine whether you remain in the matrix of limitation or break free into a reality where getting everything you want isn't just possible, it's inevitable. The clock is ticking. Are you ready to know what they don't want you to discover? Before I reveal the forbidden secret, you need to understand why conventional strategies fail so predictably. Think about it. If traditional success advice actually worked, wouldn't most people be successful? By now, the information is everywhere. Books, podcasts, seminars, YouTube videos just like this one. Knowledge isn't the bottleneck. Something deeper is happening. Success gurus sell you complexity because complexity makes you dependent on them. They create elaborate systems with countless steps because it keeps you busy implementing rather than questioning. The harder you work at their systems without seeing results, the more you blame yourself rather than their faulty premise. I spent years in this trap. I remember staying up until 3 a.m. working on business plans, exhausted but convinced I just needed to push harder. I'd wake up at 5 a.m. to meditate, visualize, journal, exercise, doing everything the success blueprint prescribed. I invested thousands in courses promising the missing piece. Each one left me more confused and depleted than the last. And it's not just me. Look around at the countless strivers, intelligent, dedicated people who follow all the rules but remain stuck in quiet desperation. They're not lazy. They're not incapable. They've simply been misled about the fundamental nature of achievement. Here's why conventional approaches fail. They teach you to push against resistance when the secret is to dissolve it. They tell you success requires sacrifice when true achievement comes from alignment. They convince you that the path is long and difficult, which becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. They focus on specific tactics rather than universal principles. They separate material success from inner fulfillment, creating wealth at the expense of well-being. Most dangerously, they anchor your desire for success in a sense of lack, creating an energetic contradiction that guarantees failure. The traditional paradigm is like trying to start a fire by following a 30-step process while ignoring the fundamental principle of friction. You might occasionally succeed through sheer persistence, but you'll waste enormous energy in the process. That day in the coffee shop, my mentor drew a simple diagram on a napkin. "This," he said, "is what they don't want you to know." I laughed initially. "That's it? That's too simple." "Precisely," he replied. "Simplicity is power. Complexity is a prison." What he showed me that day was a complete paradigm shift. The forbidden secret that the truly successful have guarded for generations, not because they're malicious, but because this knowledge comes with responsibility. Once you understand it, there's no going back to conventional thinking. Are you ready to cross this threshold? Because what I'm about to share next will fundamentally alter how you pursue everything you desire. The forbidden secret can be distilled into one paradigm-shifting principle. Reality follows attention with perfect fidelity, but operates on a delayed feedback loop. Let me break this down because within this simple statement lies extraordinary power. Everything you're experiencing right now, your financial situation, relationships, health, and overall life circumstances, is the precise physical manifestation of your past dominant thoughts, emotions, and beliefs. Not your conscious intentions or wishes, but your actual energetic state. This isn't some feel-good metaphor. It's as real and immutable as gravity. The universe doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you are. And what you are is fundamentally your consistent attention and emotional resonance. Why is this knowledge forbidden? Because once you truly understand it, you realize that the entire achievement framework sold by society is backwards. You've been taught to believe that your circumstances determine your mental emotional state, when in fact, your mental emotional state creates your circumstances. This principle has been hidden in plain sight throughout history. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Buddha taught, "All that we are is the result of what we have thought." Jesus said, "It is done unto you as you believe." Einstein concluded, "Reality is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one." These weren't metaphorical statements. They were literal descriptions of how reality functions. The wealthy elite instinctively understand this. Look closely at truly successful people, not the burnt-out strivers, but those who achieve with apparent ease. They operate differently. They maintain unwavering focus on what they want rather than fighting against what they don't want. They cultivate specific emotional states before the external circumstances justify them. Most importantly, they understand the crucial feedback delay that tricks most people into abandoning this principle before it bears fruit. When you shift your attention and emotional state, the external reality doesn't change instantly. There's a gap, what I call the manifestation interval, between your internal shift and its physical manifestation. During this interval, all external evidence will contradict your new internal state, creating the perfect test of your conviction. Most people fail this test. They change their thinking temporarily, see no immediate results, and revert to old patterns, never realizing they abandoned the process right before the breakthrough. This is why persistence in maintaining your desired internal state, regardless of current circumstances, is the true secret to achievement. Not action for action's sake, but aligned action flowing from a properly conditioned mental and emotional foundation. The forbidden secret is so powerful because it completely inverts the conventional formula. Instead of work hard, achieve, success, feel good, the actual formula is choose to feel good, align your attention, inspired action, inevitable success. This isn't magical thinking, it's causal thinking at a higher level of understanding. Now let's go deeper into the psychological mechanics of this principle and why it remains hidden from mainstream consciousness. Your brain contains a specialized network called the reticular activating system, or RAS. This neural gatekeeper filters the millions of sensory inputs bombarding you every second, allowing only a tiny fraction into your conscious awareness. What determines which information passes through this filter? Your beliefs, expectations, and what you consistently focus on. In other words, you never experience objective reality, only a personalized version that confirms your dominant thoughts. When you truly understand this, you realize something profound. Changing your circumstances without first changing your internal programming is literally impossible. It defies the laws of consciousness. That's why people who win the lottery often lose everything within years. Their wealth consciousness hasn't changed, so reality must realign with their true internal state. This principle operates through 4 specific mechanisms. First, selective perception. When you hold a belief, like making money is hard, your RAS filters reality to find confirming evidence while filtering out contradicting data. This creates a self-reinforcing loop that feels like objective truth. Second, behavioral alignment. Your subconscious mind automatically generates behaviors consistent with your dominant beliefs. These behaviors create your outcomes while feeling like just who you are. Third, energetic resonance. Your emotional state emits a specific frequency that attracts corresponding experiences through principles that quantum physics is only beginning to understand. Fourth, the expectation effect. Your deep expectations literally pre-pattern potential outcomes, collapsing quantum probability fields in directions aligned with your beliefs. Together, these mechanisms ensure your external reality always mirrors your internal landscape with perfect precision. The most subversive aspect of this forbidden knowledge is understanding that struggle indicates misalignment. Effort isn't inherently virtuous. It often signals resistance to your own manifestations. This is why force-based achievement strategies ultimately fail. They attempt to override the very system designed to deliver your desires when properly aligned. True power comes from working with this system instead of against it. You must consciously select your dominant thoughts rather than reacting to circumstances. Cultivate emotional states that match your desired outcome, not your current reality. Act from inspiration rather than desperation. Trust the process during the manifestation interval. Release attachment to specific pathways, allowing optimal routes to emerge. When you master these elements, achievement becomes not just easier, it becomes inevitable. The universe literally has no choice but to reconfigure itself to match your dominant internal state. This is what my mentor meant by simplicity is power. The process isn't complicated, but it requires consciously interrupting lifelong mental habits that keep most people trapped. Now, let me show you what this looks like in practice through real-world examples. Let me share 3 remarkable transformations I've witnessed firsthand, people who applied this forbidden secret and completely revolutionized their circumstances. First, there's Michael. When I met him, he was working 70-hour weeks at a marketing agency, making $85,000, but perpetually stressed and financially stagnant, despite his grinding work ethic. His story might sound familiar. Michael's breakthrough came when he realized he was operating from a fundamental belief that financial success requires sacrifice and struggle. This belief manifested as taking on difficult clients, undercharging for his expertise, and creating unnecessary complexity in his business. I guided Michael to consciously redirect his attention toward abundance rather than scarcity. Instead of focusing on not having enough clients or needing more money, he disciplined himself to focus exclusively on the value he created and the ideal clients already in his life. For 3 weeks, nothing external changed. The manifestation interval tested his resolve, but Michael persisted in maintaining his new mental and emotional state, regardless of circumstances. Then something fascinating happened. A small consulting opportunity emerged through a random connection. Instead of approaching it from desperation, Michael engaged from his new abundance mindset. He charged triple his usual rate, clearly articulated his exceptional value, and set healthy boundaries. Not only did the client happily agree, but they referred 3 similar businesses within a month. Within 90 days, Michael had replaced his entire client roster with premium partnerships, cut his working hours in half, and tripled his income. Today, he runs a boutique agency generating over $1.2 million annually while working just 4 days a week. The key insight: Michael didn't change his actions first. He changed his dominant thoughts and emotions, which naturally led to entirely different actions. Then there's Sophia, a single mother who had endured a series of painful relationships that followed the same destructive pattern. She desperately wanted a healthy partnership, but couldn't understand why she kept attracting emotionally unavailable men. Applying the forbidden secret, Sophia realized her attention was dominated by fear of abandonment and hypervigilance for potential red flags. Despite wanting connection, she was energetically broadcasting distrust and expectation of pain. The transformation began when Sophia committed to feeling the emotions of being in her ideal relationship before having any external evidence for it. Instead of focusing on what she didn't want, she redirected her attention to cultivating and experiencing the feelings of being deeply loved, respected, and secure. For 6 months, nothing obvious changed externally. The manifestation interval was testing her, but internally, Sophia was becoming a completely different person. one who naturally attracted and was attracted to healthy partners. When she eventually met Andrew, their connection unfolded effortlessly. The dramatic push-pull dynamics of her previous relationships were completely absent. 3 years later, they have a thriving marriage based on mutual respect and genuine compatibility. Finally, there's James, who spent decades battling weight, issues, and low energy. He had tried every diet and exercise program imaginable, always starting with enthusiasm, only to abandon each attempt within weeks. James's revelation came when he recognized that his dominant thought patterns about health were focused on fighting against being overweight rather than aligning with wellness. His attention constantly centered on what he shouldn't eat, how much he hated exercise, and his frustration with his body. Applying the forbidden secret, James stopped fighting his current reality and instead devoted his attention to how it feels to be naturally healthy and energetic. He visualized himself moving with ease, making nourishing food choices from internal desire rather than external rules, and genuinely enjoying physical activity. For the first month, his behaviors didn't significantly change. The manifestation interval was at work. But as his internal state shifted, something remarkable happened. His natural desires began changing. He found himself spontaneously craving nutritious foods and enjoying movement. What had always felt like willpower became genuine preference. Within 8 months, James lost 67 pounds. More importantly, he established a sustainable, joyful relationship with health that has maintained his transformation for over 4 years now. These stories illustrate a critical pattern. Transformation happens when you change your internal state. First, maintain it through the manifestation interval despite contradictory evidence, and allow your actions to naturally align with your new dominant thoughts and emotions. Now let's translate this forbidden secret into practical application, starting with the essential mindset shift required. Your first task is conducting a comprehensive attention audit. For the next 3 days, meticulously observe where your thoughts habitually focus. Most people are shocked to discover they spend over 70% of their mental energy on what they don't want rather than what they do want. Document every worry, complaint, and fear-based thought. These aren't harmless mental activities. They're literal creation instructions to your subconscious mind and the quantum field. Next, implement the pivotal practice of attention redirecting. The moment you catch yourself focusing on an unwanted condition, immediately ask, "What do I want instead?" Then deliberately shift your attention to that desired state. This isn't positive thinking as typically taught. It's not about denying problems or reciting empty affirmations. It's about understanding that your attention is your most powerful creative tool and wielding it with precision. Develop what I call emotional sovereignty, the ability to choose your emotional state independent of circumstances. Most people believe their feelings are caused by external conditions. The forbidden secret reveals this is backwards. Your feelings create your conditions through the law of resonance. Practice cultivating the emotional signature of your desired reality for at least 10 minutes daily through visualization. Focus not just on the mental images, but primarily on generating the feelings that your desired achievements would evoke: confidence, peace, satisfaction, joy. Critical to this process is understanding belief ecosystems. Each core belief exists within a network of supporting beliefs. When you try to change just one belief while leaving its ecosystem intact, the network will pull you back to consistency. You must identify and reprogram entire belief structures. For example, if you're reprogramming the belief, making money is difficult, you must also address related beliefs like wealthy people are somehow unethical. I'm not the type of person who gets lucky breaks, and financial success requires sacrificing what matters. Implement pattern interruption techniques to disrupt lifelong mental habits. When you notice yourself engaging in lack-based thinking, use physical cues like snapping your fingers or touching your wrist to break the pattern before installing a new thought. Develop what neuroscientists call metacognition, the ability to observe your own thinking processes rather than being unconsciously directed by them. This creates the critical space between stimulus and response, where your power to choose resides. Practice holding paradoxical perspectives simultaneously. The mature application of this forbidden secret requires maintaining unwavering faith in your desired outcome while fully accepting your present reality. This is not contradiction, but transcendent understanding that both the seed, present, and the oak tree, future, are valid expressions of the same essence at different points in manifestation. Finally, implement identity-level reconditioning. Your self-concept, the core beliefs about who you are, creates an upper limit on what you'll allow yourself to experience. Using techniques like future self-integration and identity journaling, systematically elevate your self-concept to match your desires. Remember, your mind will present countless reasonable arguments for why you should focus on problems rather than solutions, limitations rather than possibilities. This resistance is normal and expected. The difference between those who transform their lives and those who remain stuck is simply this: a willingness to discipline attention despite every external circumstance suggesting you should do otherwise. Now let's move from mindset to specific, daily actions that will accelerate your results. Let's translate this mindset shift into concrete daily practices that will systematically rewire your subconscious and align your energy with your desires. Begin each day with the reality creation ritual. Before consuming any information or checking devices, spend 15 minutes programming your subconscious for the day ahead. First, enter a relaxed alpha brainwave state through 2 minutes of deep breathing. 4 counts in, 7 counts hold, 8 counts out. Next, visualize your day unfolding perfectly, experiencing the emotions of everything flowing with ease and positive outcomes, manifesting effortlessly. Then engage in identity affirmation. Not wishful statements, but declarations of your chosen self-concept. Stated as present realities, focus on who you are becoming rather than what you're getting. Finally, set your reticular activating system by defining exactly what evidence to notice today that confirms your new reality is already emerging. Throughout your day, practice hourly. State resets. Set a discrete alarm that reminds you to check your current emotional frequency and realign if necessary. This prevents unconscious drifting into reactive states that undermine your creations. Implement environmental recoding strategically. Place visual triggers in your physical space that redirect your attention to your chosen focus. These can be symbols, images, or keywords that have personal significance and instantly elevate your state. Develop precision in your language patterns. The words you consistently use program your subconscious expectations. Eliminate phrases like, "I hope," "I'll try," "It's hard," and "I don't know if I can." Replace them with, "I choose," "I'm committed," "I'm figuring out how," and "This is happening." Practice what I call future memory immersion, a technique where you vividly imagine your desired outcomes as past events rather than future possibilities. Neurologically, this creates a powerful familiarity effect that accelerates manifestation. Create evidence books documenting every instance, however small, that shows your new reality emerging. Your brain seeks consistency with its established beliefs, so systematically proving to yourself that change is already happening builds powerful momentum. Implement strategic environment optimization. Audit your physical spaces, digital consumption, and social circle for alignment with your intentions. Ruthlessly eliminate or reduce exposure to influences that reinforce limiting beliefs. Develop the crucial skill of acting as if your desired reality is already secured. This isn't pretending or faking, it's making decisions from your future self rather than your past conditioning. Ask regularly, what would the version of me who has already achieved this goal do in this situation? Practice conscious completion, the art of energetically resolving unfinished business, incomplete projects, and unfulfilled commitments that drain your creative power. Each loose end in your life diverts energy from your primary intentions. Implement regular nervous system regulation through practices like coherent breathing, cold exposure, and heart rate variability training. A dysregulated nervous system locked in fight or flight mode cannot effectively leverage the forbidden secret. Create anchored resource states, specific emotional states that you can access instantly through physical triggers. This allows you to maintain your chosen energetic signature even amid challenging circumstances. Finally, establish a systematic review and recalibration process. Weekly, evaluate your progress, refine your approach, and adjust your focus based on emerging feedback. The most powerful action principle to remember is this: when properly aligned internally, inspired action feels effortless and obvious. If you're forcing yourself to take steps that feel like a struggle, pause and realign first. The right actions flow naturally from the right internal state. Now, let's address the common obstacles you'll inevitably face and how to overcome them. As you implement this forbidden knowledge, you'll encounter predictable challenges that have derailed countless others. Let me prepare you with specific solutions for each obstacle. The first and most universal barrier is immediate evidence contradiction. When you begin focusing on abundance while your bank account shows lack, or on vibrant health while feeling physical discomfort, your senses will scream that you're deluding yourself. Remember, the manifestation interval guarantees a period where all external evidence contradicts your internal shift. This isn't failure, it's a necessary phase of the process. Solution: develop sensory override capability. Consciously acknowledge the current physical reality while maintaining the emotional frequency of your desired state. Don't deny current circumstances, but recognize them as lagging indicators rather than creative instructions. You'll also face identity friction, the psychological discomfort that occurs when your new thoughts and emotions conflict with your established self-concept. Your unconscious mind will work to restore consistency with your familiar identity, even if that means sabotaging positive changes. Solution: implement incremental identity expansion. Rather than attempting to leap to a completely different self-concept, create plausible bridge identities that connect your current self to your desired self through gradual, believable shifts. Expect to encounter the consistency threshold, AI point, where maintaining your new mental emotional state becomes exhausting because it hasn't yet become your default setting. Most people abandon the process here, not realizing they're on the verge of breakthrough. Solution: develop micro-recovery practices. Brief but powerful reset techniques you can use multiple times daily to restore your energetic alignment without requiring extended meditation or visualization sessions. You'll likely experience the phenomenon of emergence amplification, where focusing on what you want temporarily makes you hyper-aware of its absence. This creates the misleading impression that your situation is worsening rather than improving. Solution: understand that increased awareness of the gap between current and desired reality is a positive sign of your shifting perception. Use this awareness as confirmation that your reticular activating system is being reprogrammed. Perhaps the most insidious obstacle is unconscious self-sabotage, behaviors that undermine your progress in ways so subtle you don't recognize them as contradicting your stated desires. Solution: implement the belief behavior audit. Weekly, examine your actions and ask, what would someone have to believe to behave this way? This reveals the hidden beliefs still operating beneath your conscious awareness. You'll encounter social resistance as the people around you, unconsciously, invested in maintaining the current version of you, subtly or overtly discourage your transformation. Solution: practice strategic disclosure, being selective about whom you share your process with, while building connections with individuals who reflect and support your emerging reality. Finally, prepare for the integration threshold, a period where your external circumstances have begun changing, but your self-concept hasn't fully updated to incorporate these changes, creating psychological dissonance that can trigger self-sabotage. Solution: develop deliberate integration practices where you consciously acknowledge and claim your emerging successes, allowing them to solidify your new self-concept rather than dismissing them as anomalies. Remember that obstacles aren't signs of failure. They're predictable phases of the transformation process. The difference between those who break through and those who remain stuck is simply having a precise map of the territory and specific strategies for each challenge. Now, let's explore what you can realistically expect as you master this forbidden secret. Understanding the typical progression of results will help you maintain trust in the process when external evidence hasn't yet caught up with your internal shifts. The initial phase, spanning roughly days from 1 to 14, is what I call neural rewiring. During this period, you'll experience primarily internal shifts, heightened awareness of your thought patterns, increased capacity to redirect attention, and moments of emotional elevation, alternating with backsliding into familiar states. External circumstances typically show minimal change during this phase. This is normal and expected. You're establishing new neural pathways that must reach a critical threshold before generating visible results. From approximately days 15 to 45, you'll enter the synchronicity acceleration phase. The first external evidence typically appears as meaningful coincidences, opportune meetings, timely information, or unexpected connections that align with your intentions. Many people dismiss these as chance occurrences, rather than recognizing them as the first physical manifestations of their shifted energy. Document these synchronicities meticulously, their confirmation that the process is working. Between days 45 to 90, most people experience what I call momentum threshold, the point where enough external evidence accumulates to create sustainable belief in the process. This marks the transition from consciously maintaining your desired state through discipline to having reality itself reinforce your new paradigm through tangible feedback. During this phase, you'll notice increasing inspired action opportunities, clear, energized impulses to take specific steps that weren't visible before. These aren't forced actions, but natural extensions of your aligned state. From approximately day 90 onward, you enter compound acceleration, where results begin generating their own momentum. New opportunities attract further opportunities. Incremental successes build confidence that creates greater success, and maintaining your desired mental-emotional state becomes increasingly effortless as external evidence supports it. Now, let's address specific domains of life and what to expect in each. In financial transformation, first indicators typically include unexpected small windfalls or resource efficiency, getting more value from existing resources. This progresses to increased recognition of your value in professional contexts, followed by concrete opportunities for income expansion. Complete financial restructuring, where your relationship with money fundamentally shifts, typically emerges between months 6 to 12 of consistent practice. For relationship transformation, initial changes usually manifest as shifted dynamics in existing relationships, rather than new relationships immediately appearing. You'll notice people responding to you differently before major external changes occur. New connections aligned with your desires typically begin appearing during the synchronicity acceleration phase. Health transformations generally begin with subtle energy shifts and improved sleep quality, followed by spontaneous desire for more, nurturing behaviors. Physical evidence like weight changes, improved biomarkers, or symptom reduction typically become measurable during the momentum threshold phase. Across all domains, understand that transformation follows an exponential rather than linear progression. The most dramatic external changes often appear suddenly after periods of seemingly minimal movement, like water heating 1 degree at a time until it suddenly transforms to steam. The most reliable indicators that you're on track are not always external results, but internal shifts. Decreased emotional reactivity, increased peace regardless of circumstances, more frequent experiences of flow state, and intuitive nudges that prove accurate when followed. Trust these subtle internal shifts as confirmation even when external evidence is still catching up. The inner always precedes the outer in the manifestation process. Remember that your specific timeline will vary based on factors including the depth of your existing belief structures, your consistency in maintaining your chosen state, and the scope of transformation you're creating. Focus on the quality of your practice rather than arbitrary deadlines. Now, let's explore advanced applications that can further accelerate your results. Once you've established a solid foundation with the core practices, these advanced techniques will expand your capabilities and accelerate your results. The first advanced practice is quantum collapse meditation. This leverages the observer effect from quantum physics, the principle that focused attention collapses quantum probability waves into specific particles. For 20 minutes daily, enter a deep meditative state through box breathing. Then visualize your desired outcome as existing within a field of infinite possibilities. Rather than forcing or straining, simply maintain gentle, curious attention on this outcome while feeling it as already completed. This isn't visualization as commonly taught. It's a specific form of attention that collapses potential into actuality at the quantum level. Next, develop timeline reconsolidation, a technique that restructures how your subconscious organizes past experiences. Most people's perception of time places their desired outcomes in an uncertain future, while anchoring limitations in a concrete past. This creates an energetic configuration that automatically delays manifestation. The reconsolidation process involves mentally revisiting pivotal moments from your past, while reimagining them with your current wisdom and perspective. This isn't denial of what happened, but a conscious reframing that extracts empowering meaning from all experiences, dissolving the subconscious resistance created by unprocessed negative events. Another powerful advanced technique is reality scaffolding, creating strategic interim outcomes that bridge your current reality and ultimate desires. When the gap between present circumstances and desired results seems unbridgeable, scaffolding provides credible stepping stones that your subconscious can accept. For example, if financial freedom is your goal, but your current belief system can't integrate $1 million business, create alignment with doubling your income first. Once that manifests, your expanded identity can then integrate the next level. Master the practice of entrainment immersion, strategically placing yourself in environments that embody the energetic frequency of your desired outcomes. Your nervous system naturally synchronizes with dominant surrounding frequencies through a principle known as entrainment. This isn't about networking or forcing connections, but about authentic immersion in environments that vibrate at your target frequency, allowing natural neurological and energetic recalibration. Develop conscious creation partnerships with select individuals practicing this same process. Meet regularly to hold space for each other's emergence without judgment or advice giving. The amplification effect of shared conscious intention creates accelerated manifestation for all participants. Implement reality testing protocols, systematic methods for verifying your progress beyond subjective perception. Define measurable indicators across multiple domains that will objectively demonstrate your advancement, then track them without attachment to specific outcomes. Perhaps the most powerful advanced technique is manifesting from the end, making decisions exclusively from your achieved future state rather than your current circumstances. This goes beyond visualization to actually living from the identity of having already achieved your desires in every choice you make. When considering any opportunity or challenge, ask, how would the version of me who has already achieved my vision respond to this? Then embody that response completely, regardless of how impractical it might seem from your current perspective. Finally, practice reality, loop closure, actively searching for and acknowledging evidence that you're new. Reality is emerging, then feeding that evidence back into your creative process. This creates a powerful positive feedback loop that accelerates manifestation. A word of caution: these advanced techniques should only be implemented once you've established consistency with the core practices. Premature advancement often leads to inconsistent results and unnecessary frustration. Applied with discipline and consistency, this complete system, the forbidden secret, creates a level of reality control that most people never experience, let alone master. Not because it's not available to everyone, but because few are willing to challenge their fundamental assumptions about how reality operates. Now, let's bring everything together. We've covered a lot of ground, revealing a system so contrary to conventional wisdom, yet so fundamentally powerful that it has remained hidden despite being referenced throughout history. Let's recap the essential truth. Reality follows attention with perfect fidelity, but operates on a delayed feedback loop. Your dominant thoughts, emotions, and beliefs are not responding to your circumstances. They are creating them through multiple mechanisms, including selective perception, behavioral alignment, energetic resonance, and the expectation effect. This isn't metaphysical speculation. It's the operating system of human experience that explains why some people consistently create extraordinary outcomes, while others remain trapped in cycles of effort without meaningful progress. The forbidden secret isn't forbidden because anyone is deliberately hiding it. It's forbidden because it contradicts the fundamental paradigm most of us were programmed with from birth, that we are essentially powerless responders to external conditions rather than conscious creators of our reality. Embracing this knowledge comes with responsibility. As you've seen, this isn't about wishful thinking or denial of present circumstances. It requires rigorous mental discipline, emotional sovereignty, and the courage to stand firmly in a new paradigm while all external evidence temporarily contradicts it. So here's my challenge to you. For the next 90 days, commit to implementing this system exactly as outlined, not partially, not when it's convenient, completely and consistently. Start with the fundamental practices. Conduct your attention audit. Implement daily reality creation rituals. Practice hourly state resets. Document synchronicities and evidence. Maintain your chosen emotional state regardless of circumstances. Do this with absolute fidelity for 90 days, and I promise you will experience shifts so profound, they will forever change how you perceive reality and your role in creating it. Remember that the manifestation interval guarantees a period where your external reality will contradict your internal shifts. This isn't failure. It's a necessary phase of the process that tests your conviction and separates those who will transform their lives from those who remain bound by conventional limitations. The question isn't whether this system works. The laws governing reality are as consistent as gravity. The only question is whether you will apply these principles with the consistency and courage required to break through. I've shared everything you need. The forbidden secret is forbidden no longer. You now possess knowledge that most people will never discover, let alone master. What you do with it is entirely up to you. But know this, once experienced, there's no going back to the limited paradigm of reality as something that happens to you rather than through you. The choice is yours, and it begins now. What reality will you choose to create?